Landing a fighter jet on an aircraft carrier is already one of the most high-stakes, precision-driven tasks a pilot can face. But imagine doing it during a monstrous storm with waves crashing against the ship and the deck swaying violently beneath you. The sky is dark, the wind is howling, and visibility is almost zero. In these conditions, the stakes are higher than ever. Yet, this is a reality that U.S. Navy pilots face on a regular basis. Aircraft carriers, the mobile powerhouses of the sea, are designed to operate in some of the harshest conditions imaginable. But no matter how advanced the technology, no matter how skilled the crew, landing fighter jets in monster storms is a dangerous, nerve-wracking operation that demands the highest level of precision and courage. Let's set the scene. A fighter jet, a $70 million machine, is coming in hot, flying low over a pitching deck that's swaying from the power of 30-foot waves. The wind is gusting at over 50 knots, and rain is pouring down in sheets. In a perfect world, landing on an aircraft carrier is difficult enough. The ship is moving, the jet is coming in at high speed, and everything has to be aligned perfectly. But in the middle of a storm, with the ocean and the ship in turmoil, the task becomes almost impossibly difficult. Yet this is the reality for Navy pilots who have to land in the worst of weather conditions. First, let's talk about what makes landing on an aircraft carrier so complex in normal circumstances. The aircraft carrier is a massive ship, but compared to the speed at which fighter jets land, the flight deck is tiny. The landing area is about 300 feet long, only a fraction of the distance a commercial jet would need to safely touch down. The jet comes in at over 150 knots and has to hit a specific point on the deck. The pilot has only seconds to judge their approach, line up the aircraft with the arrestor wires that will catch the plane and bring it to a halt, and ensure that the landing gear hits the deck at just the right moment. A missed landing or a miscalculation can mean disaster. In normal weather, the pilot has to fight the plane's speed, the momentum, and the weight of the jet to make sure they stick the landing. Now, add the chaos of a storm into the mix. When pilots are trying to land in rough seas and high winds, everything they know about precision flying goes out the window. The ship isn't stationary. It's moving and rocking in all directions. The wind is pushing the jet off course, and the turbulence from the waves is creating unpredictable shifts. You can't count on anything being the same from one second to the next. In these conditions, a slight mistake in altitude or approach can result in a catastrophic outcome. This is when the training, discipline, and nerves of steel that every pilot has spent years developing come into play. They have to rely on their instruments, their instincts, and their experience to make sure they don't miss the landing. One of the biggest challenges is visibility. In a storm, the visibility on the flight deck is often reduced to near zero. The ship's radar system will help guide the aircraft, but at such low altitudes, the pilot is also relying on their visual cues to see the ship, the landing area, and the arrestor wires. Often, pilots must rely on the glowing lights at the edges of the deck to give them some sense of their position relative to the ship. But in a storm, those lights might be completely obscured by rain, fog, and sea spray. The pilot has to land almost entirely on instruments without being able to clearly see the deck. This means that precision and timing are even more critical than ever. When a storm is intense enough, the carrier itself can begin to rock side to side or pitch forward and back, and this makes landing even more difficult. Imagine being in a fighter jet coming in at over 150 knots, trying to land on a surface that's constantly shifting beneath you. The flight deck of an aircraft carrier isn't just moving through the air, it's also constantly affected by the sea. The swells of the ocean create unpredictable movements, and this adds an extra layer of complexity to the landing. Pilots can never be sure if the ship will be in the right position when they are ready to land, so they have to adjust their approach constantly. Once the plane is in the right position, the pilot has to get the aircraft in perfect alignment with the arrestor wires. These wires are the primary way the plane is safely stopped after landing. They are stretched across the flight deck, and the plane's tailhook must catch one of these wires to stop the jet. But the challenge here is that the movement of the ship coupled with the force of the storm makes it difficult for the pilot to line up the tailhook perfectly with the wires. If the wire is missed, the jet has to go around and try the landing again, all while the conditions are continuing to worsen. In the worst-case scenario, if the aircraft cannot land safely, the pilot may need to eject, abandoning the multi-million-dollar jet and risking their own life in the process. The importance of communication cannot be overstated during these landings. Air traffic controllers on the carrier communicate with pilots, guiding them to the deck and helping them maintain their approach. The flight deck crew works in close coordination with pilots, standing ready to catch the jets and tow them to a safe area after landing. But in a storm, the communication lines are put to the test. The rain, wind, and noise of the storm make it harder for air traffic controllers and pilots to hear each other. Still, the communication must remain clear and precise. Without effective communication, it's easy for confusion to take hold, and confusion can be deadly. But despite the challenges, Navy pilots are trained for this. It's the kind of training that doesn't just prepare them for the calm days, but for the days when everything goes wrong. They are constantly refining their skills in the most extreme conditions imaginable. Training simulators, mock storm scenarios, and practice landings on mock-up carriers all contribute to the pilot's ability to land in conditions that seem almost impossible. But there's one key factor that makes it all work. Trust. The pilot must trust their instruments, trust their training, and trust the crew on the ground. The flight deck crew, the air traffic controllers, and the pilots all rely on each other to make sure that the mission succeeds, and that everyone walks away from these dangerous landings unscathed. When a jet finally touches down and the arrestor wires catch the tailhook, it's nothing short of a miracle. After the long, tense approach, after fighting the wind, the waves, and the storm, the pilot has successfully landed on a deck that was shifting and swaying with the force of the storm. The crew breathes a collective sigh of relief, but it's not over yet. The process must be repeated again and again, with each landing requiring the same level of precision, courage, and teamwork. Landing fighter jets on an aircraft carrier during a monster storm is one of the most intense and dangerous tasks a pilot can face. It requires more than just skill. It requires an unwavering commitment to the mission and to the team. It's the kind of challenge that tests the limits of human capability, and every successful landing is a testament to the incredible training, discipline, and courage of U.S. Navy pilots. In the face of monster storms when everything seems impossible, they do what they've been trained to do. They land safely and prepare for the next challenge.